Morning. Glad you all made it here safely this morning. I don't see Representative McGuire here. Is anybody here to introduce 1030 from the House? All right. It's you and me. Would you mind introducing this one? Senator?
Your sponsor, do you want to introduce it?
Sure, I can go introduce it. Actually, I'm just going to introduce it from here. Sorry.
Why not?
All right, we're going to open the hearing on House Bill 1030. And I am going to introduce it since the House members are not here. This is a bill that modifies the scope of practice for licensed practical nurses. And with that, we will call on Alyssa Cummings and Ben Bradley to testify. Good morning. You can give it to the aides here. Oh, that's right. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Ben Bradley. I'm the Vice President of State Government Relations at the New Hampshire Hospital Association.
Welcome back. It's been a bit since we've seen you.
Thank you, Senator. And I'm really pleased to be joined with Alyssa Cummings, who will introduce herself and provide testimony.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Alyssa Cummings, and I'm currently an interim nursing director working at Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center, and appreciate the opportunity to provide a testimony in support of the recently adopted amended language for the licensed practical nurses in New Hampshire. I'd also like to just take a moment to thank Chairman Pearl for the sponsorship of this bill and share just our overall appreciation. The House Bill 1030 was adopted by the House Executive Departments and Administration Committee members to ensure LPNs are practicing at the highest level of their education, training, and demonstrated competencies. I personally have worked in the hospital setting for many years, primarily in the med-surg adult patient population, and have served in various leadership roles where I have worked closely with LPNs. In my various leadership roles, I've consistently witnessed as well as received direct feedback from LPNs expressing their feelings of underutilization despite their education, training, and demonstrated capabilities. Due to the consistent and recurring nature of this feedback, it prompted myself as well as other Dartmouth-Hitchcock department leaders to take a deeper look at the underlying causes. This included a thorough review of current New Hampshire Board of Nursing resources, as well as outreach to other healthcare organizations across the state to better understand their experiences. Through many discussions with chief nursing officers, vice presidents, and nursing directors from various healthcare environments across the state, it was clear that many of us shared similar challenges and concerns with the current language, specifically within Chapter 326B13 of the Nurse Practice Act. The current language limits LPNs to conduct segmented patient-focused assessments rather than completing full comprehensive assessments, which contradicts what is being taught through the state's accredited curriculum. This has created uncertainty, leading to organizations to adopt more conservative and restrictive internal policies and procedures and to ensure practice compliance. In pursuit of clarification, several of the New Hampshire nursing leaders, LPN program directors, and faculty professors, as well as the New Hampshire Nurses Association, were consulted to create recommendations for revisions to the Chapter 326B13 Act specifically to line items A and C. Line item A, we are hoping to remove the word focus, and line item C, changing participating in to contributing to. LPNs are a critical component of our New Hampshire healthcare workforce. As we all know, the healthcare delivery system has evolved tremendously over the years, and the care that LPNs provide is highly effective and necessary within healthcare organizations. Allowing LPNs to practice at the highest level of their scope strengthens the team care models and increases access to critical patient care. This is particularly important as we continue to see expanding patient needs, high daily census across healthcare organizations. Revising and clarifying the LPN scope of practice language would not only support nurses at the bedside, but would also empower healthcare organizations to confidently develop policies and procedures that are directly guided by the current statutory language. Clear and modernized language creates a foundation for consistent practice and continuity of care while also improving employee satisfaction and retention of talented, qualified, and committed professionals. Without this clarification, we continue to be at risk for underutilized vital resources and perpetuating healthcare retention issues and the inability to serve our increasing patient needs across the state of New Hampshire. I respectfully urge to support this important update to better serve our patients, our communities, and our healthcare teams. And would like to thank you for the consideration overall.
Well, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Senator McGill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for taking my question, Ms. Cummings. My question is about a couple of them, actually, if you will indulge me. The difference between an LPN's training and examination, specifically the NCLEX PN examination, and that of an RN, either a 2-year associate's degree or a 4-year bachelor's degree, which is, as you know, required by many facilities. So tell me about the difference in the training specifically on assessment.
I believe that the main difference is that when LPNs are expected to, and they are capable of providing head-to-toe assessments on stable patients. And so it talks, their curriculum focuses heavily on the patient overall head-to-toe, but on someone who is deemed stable. And there are guidelines and verbiage that outlines what criteria concludes an actual stable patient.
Follow?
A couple more, if you don't mind. Thank you for pointing out that there is a very, very specific defined difference between the type of patient an LPN is trained to assess. But in the hospital setting, you don't know what kind of patient you're going to run into. So my further question is, if there's an expanded number of LPNs enabled to practice at a level that's clearly beyond their training, won't that dilute the wage pool and the number of higher quality trained individuals to care for our patients at the bedside?
So the LPNs are still practicing under the umbrella of a registered nurse as well. So they're typically, especially in the inpatient settings, they have registered nurses that are also overseeing the patients. And so they are able to, the benefit of it is that they're able to identify, and they would be assigned to these patients based off of a nurse's assessment, whether or not they have predictable, what we can predict to be a stable stay for that patient. And then thus they would be able to provide their skills to be able to do these assessments and be able to contribute to the overall patient care alongside a registered nurse as well.
Okay, so
Follow?
thank you. Yeah. So since the assessment training and performance is clearly different and limited for LPNs to stable and predictable patients, which we all know there's not all of those in every setting, how can we ensure that the overall quality of care and again, those wage rates and like you said, retention of RN staff or the motivation for people to become RNs, how can we ensure that's not going to decrease if we tweak this statute?
I think, Senator, also keep in mind that LPNs already have a role to play, and hospitals already have mechanisms and policies to ensure that LPNs are practicing in the appropriate setting with those stable patients. So it's not a new concept for a stable patient, as Alyssa outlined, is clearly defined and for them to be able to work with those stable patients. So I just want to make clear that it's not a new concept for the LPN to be in the hospital setting, being assigned a patient who's been deemed stable and work within their capabilities to address their assessments.
I have a question of Mr. Bradley then. Yeah, that's a great point. They are assigned a patient who at that moment is stable and at the very next moment might not be stable. And the LPN, because their training is less than half the number of assessment hours, and it's a different type of assessment, might not be able to recognize that. So my question to you is, can an LPN replace an RN in terms of their comprehensive patient assessment and clinical nursing diagnosis skills that they're specifically trained for in every program in the state and on the NCLEX exam.
So I'd actually just ask Alyssa to explain what the focused assessment looks like and the training it takes to be able to do a focused assessment. And I think it speaks to her notion around head to toe. Although they may be limited at this point under what we're trying to change here around focused, their training does extend for a full assessment because they have to be able to. So if Alyssa, you could just explain.
That's exactly the danger of it. Yeah.
Yeah, the argument is that when we are saying that LPNs are able to do focused assessments, it implies that they're able to do partial assessments. But to be able to do partial assessments, you have to be trained in doing a full comprehensive assessment. And that is what the LPNs are trained to do in their curriculum. Now, if they pick up on something that maybe they feel is, demonstrating that the patient is no longer becoming or has transitioned from stable to potentially unstable, that is when they would escalate it to the registered nurse. And that would be the reason why people would want to become a registered nurse, is because they have those enhanced ability and skills to do further assessments on those patients and then escalate to providers as needed.
Further questions?
I have another one.
I'll give you one more.
All right, I'll take one more. Thank you. So if LPNs are authorized to perform this expanded scope assessment, which I'd argue is specifically why it says focus in the statute, because they're not trained to do it and they're not tested to do it. But if we were to do that, what's to prevent a facility from essentially watering down the quality of care and the number of more highly qualified bedside caregivers by allowing, more LPNs to do more stuff? Like how is that just not a decrease in overall quality of care and wage rates and things like that?
I would just argue that that's not something that would be of value to the health system to lower their quality of care, and I don't think that this bill does that.
Any further questions? All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Representative McGuire, I had introduced the bill for you. Is there any comments you'd like to, excuse me, bring before the committee? I just gave a basic introduction.
Thank you, Senator. No, I just want to apologize for being late.
Oh, it's okay. The weather does contribute to that, I'm certain. All right, Carleen Ferrier from the New Hampshire Nurses Association. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I'm representing the New Hampshire Nurses Association, which is, we have about 1,100 members, as well as myself. I've been a nurse for 37 years, primarily in New Hampshire in various settings. We support this legislation because it's very important to us that all nurses work at the top of their licensure, education, and training. And I specifically reached out to the deans and directors of all of the nursing programs in New Hampshire to ask them about their training and competency related to assessments. And they assured me that they in fact do teach full assessments of LPNs. Training has changed over time. And of course, my daughter's an RN. She's doing things that I never did 37 years ago as healthcare progresses. So we've been assured that LPNs are trained at this level. I just want to point out Senator McHugh's question is pretty much on target with what we know the evidence does say. In fact, RNs, specifically BSN prepared RNs, have been shown to have better outcomes in healthcare and decrease mortality, better safety and care, lower readmission rates, increased efficiency, and better care management. So in fact, it would be really detrimental if the hospitals decreased the number of RNs who are serving patients. And so I think your point was well taken. We don't want to change the number of RNs who are working in the hospital setting, but we want all nurses to work at the top of their licensure and training.
So it's fair to say, I'll go to you in just a sec, that
Yes.
you don't feel the changing of this word, removing focused would set up the situation that Senator McGee was concerned about in the hospitals replacing RNs with LPNs?
I don't, because it would have an enormous impact on the outcome of patients. And right now, patients, hospitals are not reimbursed if patients are readmitted to the hospital. So in the end, it will end up costing them more money if they lower the ratio of RNs providing care.
Senator McGee with a question?
Yes, thank you so much for taking the question. It's a great dialogue. And it's something I've thought about for a number of years back in when Magnet hospitals made nurses who had been there 20, 30 years, some mentors and teachers of mine, upgrade from ASN to BSN at a certain point where they couldn't stay. Like Lowell did it, Southern New Hampshire did it, St. Joe's did it, and it was a requirement. And then COVID hit and we had staffing problems, and of course there was an overall nursing shortage.
Yes.
So that requirement was generally removed, at least in some departments, by JCO and Magnet accreditation. So my concern is we might go backwards, right? We work so hard to get people. I mean, do you have any comment? Is that?
I think
That's
it
real concern
is
for
a
me.
legitimate concern, and it's something that we need to continue to assess. But there are hospitals currently going through magnet preparation, like Southern New Hampshire, and I think Dartmouth is considering it as well. So those recommendations and requirements for magnet status are not going to change.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to testify on House Bill 1030? If not, all right, with that, we will close the hearing. All right, we will now open the hearing on House Bill 1110. Recognize Representative Flanagan to introduce. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Senate ED&A.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see you all again. For the record, my name is Jack Flanagan. I represent Hillsborough 45, which is Hollis, Brookline, Mason, and Greenville. Almost as large as the Senate seat. This bill is housekeeping. In a lot of ways, it's a brother doing a sister a favor who used to be the real estate commission investigator, who still is active in real estate, still teaches real estate. And she noticed these things and she said, can you introduce a bill? And this bill, 1110, consists, again, housekeeping. The Real Estate Commission changed the law, which excluded certain provisions of the law, but then didn't remove the law from other laws. So part of this bill clears up those laws that needed to be cleaned up when they changed the law. Housekeeping. The other thing that she mentioned to me was that some of the terminology, one area of government uses credits, another one hours, and others are credit hours. So she just felt, since most people recognize credit hours in learning, she just suggested that they all be credit hours. The third section, and I don't know if it's sequential in the bill, but it clarifies that inactive principals and managing brokers don't need a surety bond. If you're labeled inactive, then there's no business exposure that would require a bond. She says, I don't know in what way she used it, but consistency with other laws regarding annulled offenses. So I suppose that if you're a realtor and at one point in time you were denied your license because of a crime, the term annulled was being consistent with other laws. And then finally, the fair housing law includes rentals, and our law does not include rentals. I would imagine that's dealing with discrimination. And that's pretty much it. Sucker written all over my forehead. But, you know, what do I do? You know, she's my older sister. And I remember she did one time come in and testify. And I told her, you know, listen, I'm a representative here. You know, so you can't, you got to use a certain amount of decorum. And she goes, I want to thank my little brother at 6'3". You know, anyway, that's the genesis of the bill. It's again clarifying in the House, and I don't know if anybody's here to object to it or whatever, but in the House side, the person from the Real Estate Commission says they have no objections to it. So
We're generally a forgiving body, Representative, so we'll be okay.
I suppose. But if anybody has any questions,
Any questions from the committee? Looks pretty straightforward. Thank you.
you're back on time.
That's right. I work hard to get there. We do have Director Jurius here if the committee has any questions for her, anything that needs. All right. We are good. Anybody else who would like to testify on House Bill 1110? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing. We're back on time. I think we'll stay on time and we'll do some things in exec later on. All right, we will open the hearing on House Bill 1119, Representative Rhodes. If you want to come up and introduce the bill.
Every time.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I will say it's a little strange for me to be over in eDNA. I feel like I should be sitting with Senator Gannon, but here we are. I am Representative Jennifer Rhodes. I represent Cheshire County District 17, which is Winchester, Richmond, Swansea, Troy, and Fitzwilliam. And I'm here today because I was approached by the fine people of the Funeral Directors Association with what is becoming a little bit of a conundrum for them. New Hampshire has the largest rate of deceased becoming cremated. Therefore, the amount of embalmings that an associate is required to obtain is becoming essentially unobtainable. So what we did was, with the help of OPLC, they are changing some rules around that so that it makes it a little bit easier for people to become an associate director. I do not know all of the details about that. I would ask you if you would please refer those to the lovely lady behind me that can answer those without screwing anything up. But that is the gist of what we have in front of us here today.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, Julie Tebow. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for having us this morning. My name is Julie Tebow. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer from Peterborough, and I own a funeral home in Peterborough. I've been in the funeral service for about 20 years. I'm here today as the immediate past president of the New Hampshire Funeral Directors Association, asking for your support in HB 1119. As representative, and we would like to thank Representative Rhodes too for bringing this forward for us. As she mentioned, in short, funeral service is headed towards a provider crisis if we don't do something. Licensing laws around funeral service were established in 1935. At that time, embalming was the norm for the vast majority of decedents. Now New Hampshire sees a cremation rate of about 80%. So embalming simply is no longer the norm. It's not happening on a regular basis. Instead, families are asking funeral directors to facilitate a wide range of celebratory events and customization, counseling on complex matters, referrals to therapy, other death-related activities. To further compound it, the workforce and I'll indulge you with some statistics now if you don't mind. The workforce in the current funeral service is aging. It is projected that 50 to 75% of current funeral directors will retire in the next decade. That means we would see the departure of 100 to 150 funeral directors out of only 200 licensees in New Hampshire. Compounding that, retention rates for newly licensed funeral directors is alarmingly low. 2.7 years is the average tenure of a new funeral director entering funeral service. And I'll share with you why we think that is. But before we talk about that, the other challenges that we face is the apprenticeship program that currently exists in New Hampshire has also faced its challenges. About 50% of people who enter the apprenticeship program will not complete the program and get licensed. So with these numbers in mind, this suggests that only about 30 to 50 new funeral directors will enter the workforce in the next decade. And again, those staying roughly 2.7 years would result in about a 50% deficit in the current funeral directing profession as it stands today, which is already tasked at completing what needs to be completed. Funeral professionals used to be born into the funeral profession. Funeral homes were passed down from generation to generation, and this is now the exception. Instead, funeral homes are hiring employees. So they're not family members. They're not giving their lives over to the role of funeral director, the life of a funeral director. New employees have different expectations. They have an expectations of work-life balance. The barriers to entry into the funeral service also contribute to the shortage that we're experiencing. To be a licensed funeral director in New Hampshire, as Representative Rhodes said, you have to be an embalmer. That's the way the law is currently written. So new entrants that are coming into the field, and we believe this is part of what contributes to the turnover rate, is they are attracted to the field because they think they're going to be performing embalming and restorative work and things of that nature, and then they get into the business and they see that it's mostly funeral directing that they're doing. So there's a little bit of a mismatch between what people are expecting and what's actually happening. In addition to that, in order to get into the field, they've spent the required 2 years in mortuary school, which also has a focus on the science of funeral directing and not the social services side of what we do. So to address this issue, we propose to amend the Associate Funeral Director License Statute and allow for an Associate Funeral Director license to be created. This license would allow individuals to perform all funeral directing activities except for embalming. This approach aims to increase and improve the quality of applicants and also meet the needs and demands of our families. The proposed requirements for this license would be specified in rulemaking as illustrated in the amendment, but would include specific apprenticeship hours, a state examination, educational qualifications, and this ensures that the funeral director, or the associate funeral director, would still receive the required education and training, specifically as it pertains to our federal requirements through the Federal Trade Commission. This approach also allows highly qualified individuals from perhaps social work and counseling backgrounds to enter the field without the embalming requirement. That's what we hear time and time again, is there are these professionals in social work and human services who say, I would love to do that. I would love to work with grieving families. And we say, with your master's or doctorate in counseling, I'm sorry, you're not qualified. So this would help to get those kinds of professionals into the field as well. It is important to us to note that embalming remains a critical part of a licensed funeral director's duty. We do not want to undermine that. Some families hold sacred the rites and tradition that would indicate embalming. In the case of trauma, there's no question of its value for restorative work for those families. It's simply no longer the focus of what we do. So in closing, we ask that you vote to pass HB 1119 relative to the regulation of funeral directors, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for your testimony. Sounds like you have a similar issue to what we do in agriculture. You know, this was sort of a
Very.
family business that passed down generation to generation.
Yes, sir.
It's difficult to find that interest in our younger generations that are coming along.
Yes.
Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to testify on House Bill 1119? All right, seeing none, we will close the hearing. Looks like we're just about back on time, so we will move on to House Bill 1159, and I will recognize Representative McGuire to come introduce the bill. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Senator, representative, members of the committee. I'm Carol McGuire, representing Merrimack District 27. And last year, when I put in House Bill 1159, I was the chair of the liaison committee with the State Building Code Review Board. So what this does is it implements the updates to the State Building Code as recommended by the Building Code Review Board. So it updates all of the codes except the electrical code, which we did last year, and the energy code, which had not been approved by the Building Code Review Board Committee. It also puts the amendments approved by the board updated through their October meeting as opposed to the April meeting, and allows that if a code organization publishes an errata, that it doesn't need formal approval by the House if it's simply fixing an error. The only debate in the House was on the inclusion of the energy code, not on the updates to the basic codes, and so it was oddly enough not amended in the House. And I'll try to answer any questions, but we've got some experts here.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions from the committee? Looks like we're good. Thank you. Bill? Good morning. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for hearing my testimony. For the record, my name is Philip Sherman. I'm the chair of the Building Code Review Board. Over the past year, the board, including through its various committees, has reviewed significant changes to the 2024 editions of the building code, existing building code, mechanical code, plumbing code, residential code, and the swimming pool and spa code, as well as significant changes to the 2021 versus the 2018 and the 2024 energy code. Changes were assessed for relative cost per the current RSA. After public hearings on each code, the board recommends remaining on the 2018 edition of the energy code and updating to the 2024 edition of the 6 other codes identified. As Representative McGuire indicated, the electrical code was updated last year. It's on a different publishing schedule. In terms of amendments to these codes, 2 changes in our approach to exhibits were implemented this year. First, we created a common Chapter 1, which is the administrative chapter that applies to all 8 codes. So that eliminated a lot of paperwork, duplication, and in some cases conflicts. And secondly, using the approach used for many years in the fire code, we pick up repetitive amendments that have been established, have already been approved on previous editions, and just package them up in one exhibit. Anything new or significantly changed, we carry as separate exhibits. The result is 99 amendments, including already ratified amendments to the 2018 Energy Code and the NEC. Of the amendments currently proposed for ratification, 43 of those, so about half, are administrative, are not materially changed from those previously ratified, or have no cost impact. 26 result in cost savings, and only 2 resulted in cost increase, both of those related to regulating the maximum temperature of hot water. In addition to the previous statutory requirements, new amendments included requirements set forth by the general court in 2 or 3 other bills that were passed last year. We're also pleased to report that starting with the 2023 electrical code last year and following with the current approach, we arrive at the potential for an orderly 3-year update cycle. That's been a desire on many members of the general court over the years, as with us, and I think we're there. We'll see if it sticks. This continues to have us adopt the model codes one edition behind the publishing schedule, which has been the case since the origination of the state building code, energy code, of course, being the exception. So reports have been filed on each of the above codes. Public hearings were held on the codes and the amendments. If this committee has not seen those reports or the amendments, I'm happy to forward them. This bill, as Representative McGuire indicated, also permits the BCRB to review and approve errata that are published by the model code publishers. Most of these are simply editorial, but every once in a while there have been significant errors. Things like leaving a negative sign out of a table on a number or something, where it just throws the whole thing out of whack. And as an example, the residential code is the 2024 residential code is currently on its 5th printing as they chase these errors around. Some of us like smaller codes rather than bigger ones. Lastly, we would request that this committee change the effective date of 1159 to July 1st, 2026. We've dealt with a number of parties and have dovetailed this with the implementation of last year's HB 428, which goes into effect on July 1st of this year, and HB 244, which there was a hearing on yesterday, which rejiggers a bunch of sections and moves things around. So it would be useful for all of this to happen at the same time, just so we're not overlapping things. So again, if the effective date could be changed to July 1st of 26, that would be a good thing. Remembering that the statutory 6-month grace period between the old code and the new, where the applicant can use either code, still remains in effect. So there's no real need to give people warning, and most people know it's coming anyway. So happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you. Any questions from the committee? Very thorough explanation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I didn't realize we had 2 Phils on the sheet. That's very rare that happens. So my apologies to Mr. Jason for any confusion. That's true. All right, Phil Jasek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think this is actually my first time on this side of the microphone.
I
in
think
this
it is.
committee.
Welcome back.
But I'm Phil Jazak. I'm the Communications Manager for the New Hampshire Home Builders Association. I just wanted to, first of all, thank the Building Code Review Board for all their work on this. Thankfully, I didn't have to do it. They got to do it. And we are in full agreement with everything within this, as well as the requested amendment from Chairman Sherman. That's all I got.
Nice and easy. Any questions from the committee? All right, we'll let you off easy. We have Municipal Association and the Fire Marshal's office signing in support. Do we have anybody else that would like to testify on House Bill 1159? Seeing none, we will close the hearing. Look at that, we're right back on time again. We're trying. Carol, are you introducing the next one? Or is Rep. Grota? Oh. All right, Mr. Priest. All right. We'll open the hearing on 1310, House Bill 1310. Mr. Priest, you. Oh, did I skip one?
Yeah.
He gave me the wrong sheet. Oh, it is 1160. I'm sorry. He was right, I was wrong. My apologies. We'll open the hearing on House Bill 1160. And Mr. Priest, you're going to introduce this one. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of this. This is better. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee. I'm David Priest. Representative David Priest. I represent Hillsborough District 17. And I have to apologize for my voice today because I'm just getting over a bad bout of food poisoning this weekend. And one of the after effects is the voice.
Well, we're glad
So,
you're feeling better.
I will thank you. But this bill is very important to me, so I had to be here. HB 1160 is not an expansion of government. It is an expansion of oversight. This bill strengthens the County State Finance Commission so that when counties are required to share Medicaid long-term care costs, they have a real seat at the table before decisions are finalized, not after the bills are come.
No, please continue, sorry.
Okay.
It's getting warm.
There's all these hand motions up there. Okay, thank you. It is getting kind of warm. The bill strengthens the County State Finance Commission so that when counties are required to share Medicaid long-term care costs, they have a real seat at the table before decisions are made and not after the bills are sent. Right now, counties are legally obligated to fund a portion of long care under RSA 167-18A. Yet, rate setting, plan amendments, administrative decisions are often made upstream, and counties are left reacting to the costs they did not shape. This is not good governance, and it is not good fiscal stewardship. HB 1160 clarifies membership, ensures continuity of service, refines the commission's duties so that it can review Medicaid long-term care plans and rate adjustments before they are submitted to the federal government. This is about transparency. It is about predictability. And it's about protecting counties' taxpayers from sudden cost shifts driven by administrative decisions. Importantly, this bill does not reduce the total county obligations under the existing law. It does not create new spending. It simply strengthens oversight and coordination between the state and the county government. Counties operate nursing homes. County shoulders long-term care obligations. County answers directly to the taxpayers. They deserve meaningful participation in the financial policies that affects them. HB 1160 reinforces accountability without growing bureaucracy. It is a prudent, balanced reform, and I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kate?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Kate Horgan. I'm here on behalf of the New Hampshire Association of Counties, and we thank Representative Priest for introducing the bill this morning, even though he does not sit on the commission. But I conned him into it because he happens to be my representative and he lives up the street and we ran into each other walking the dogs. So
These things do happen.
they do. So I just wanted to quickly walk you through the changes that are happening to the County State Finance Commission. Most of these changes are technical. Some are to make the commission operate a little more functional. So you will notice throughout the bill, elderly and adult services is updated to the new division title, long-term supports and services. That is purely a technical change. In lines 9 through line 16 on page 1, you will see that we're changing the term from 1 year for half of the committee members, and then you appoint the other half in the next year. So everyone has a 2-year term. I was constantly writing appointment letters, so I would just like to write one to cover the 2-year term. And we've also mirrored language on the retirement system, so that way if the association meets and happens to not appoint their new people to their term, the previous people who were appointed would serve until those new people are appointed. The association has a 50-member executive board, so we only meet once a month. So depending upon when County State Finance meets and when this group is meeting, sometimes things can be a little out of sync. So that will just clean that up. You will also notice on page 1, line 20, we removed the requirement that one of the House members be a member of municipal and county government. The reason we did that is because, quite frankly, they don't deal with this area of law that we're dealing with. It's usually the county cap and the nursing homes, and that's just not in their wheelhouse. And for the past couple of years, we've actually had 2 House members on finance participate. We now have a county state finance committee member, but we were just trying to clean that up because it makes more sense for someone from finance or someone from HHS, but it doesn't restrict anyone. It just is 2 House members who are willing to serve. And then the last changes you'll see on page 2, you'll see that change to update to long-term care supports and services. You will also see the cross out for juvenile and minor references. In the early 2000s, when this commission was created, counties were responsible for juvenile services. They are no longer responsible. So that's just a technical cleanup to remove that language because we don't talk about it because we don't do it. But I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Most important part is you left only one member of the Senate. You left
Yes,
Anna.
and it's
We're-
Senator Gray, so
Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none.
thank you.
Representative McGuire signed in support. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, we will close the hearing on House Bill 1160. We actually have 2 minutes until we can start the next one. Do we want to do a quick exec session? All right, I'll take a motion to go into exec.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
How about if we just start with the one we just did? Is there a motion on House Bill 1160? Do we have a second? Sure. Moved and seconded. Senator Reardon, Senator Gannon, any discussion? Seems like a pretty straightforward cleanup. All right,
Great.
any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. No opposed? Consent? Consent's been moved. Any opposition? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Senator Reardon, would you like to take this one out? All right. House Bill actually, we have the funeral director's still here. Let's work on that one. Which one was that?
1119.
1119. Do we have a motion on 1119?
Yeah, move on to pass, sure.
Move on to pass by, I didn't hear who went first. So who wants it? Senator McGue, seconded by Senator Reardon. How's that?
Sure.
Discussion? I had a conversation with him, the funeral directors many months ago, and this just makes total sense. I completely sympathize with the situation they are in and feel like this is a good effort on their part to fill the need that they have.
Yeah, completely agree. I talked to my local folks and some were family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Consent.
Consent's moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I'll take this one up. Senator McGue, Senator Reardon. All right, we're back on time to open our next hearing. I'll take a motion to come out of exec.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. And we are out of exec session, and we will now open the hearing on House Bill 1310. I tried to get ahead of myself. Yes. Representative McGuire, do you want to introduce? All right. Yeah, I don't see Rep. Groder here, so. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. It is much more difficult to get here now that we're not just across the street.
It sure is.
Anyway, House Bill, I'm Carol McGuire, representing Merrimack 27, which is Allenstown, Dunbarton, Epsom, and Hooksett. And House Bill 1310 is a request by the OPLC. It does two things. The first one is that it requires somebody working for an appraiser apprentice, real estate appraiser apprentice, to not be subject to discipline, which one would think would be obvious, but it's not a bad idea to put it with the requirements. And the other is that it limits the amount of teaching, I think it is, that would apply to continuing education to only half, which was a request and seems reasonable because you have to learn new things as well while you're getting your continuing education. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Any questions? All right. I'm going to bring up Director Jarius next because OPLC has requested an amendment to this, which I had drafted. And you should have it on your table, if not in your folders. It's Amendment 1017S. And I'm going to ask the director, recognize her to talk to why she needs the amendment. So good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much. For the record, Dee Jurist, Executive Director, OPLC. Yes, so this request for amendment is really quite on theme for the other two sections. So the first two that you just heard described are in response to an audit. So the appraising is a federally regulated profession, so there are federal laws and rules, and the office is regularly audited by the feds for compliance. And so those two pieces were, as a result, some findings, and this is the third piece that you have in the amendment in front of you. So it's a federal requirement that this temporary license be specific to the appraisers in that statute. We have temporary licenses within the office already, so the thought was that we didn't need this extra specific one, but the federal audit revealed we needed that there to comply with that piece. And so in front of you, it's restoring language that was repealed, I think, 3 years ago. From the statute, it's adding it back in. The only change from 3 years ago is it says office instead of board because of all the other changes that happened with the structure of OPLC in 2023. So that is the only change there. And so that allows for that temporary licensure to be in effect. Just as a note, there's no, we are still in compliance. It is still in rule. This actually got flagged in the rulemaking process because your excellent attorneys at OLS flagged that there was no statutory authority in state law. So then we went to pull it out and realized it was an audit finding. So we're able to rule make because of the federal law. So we're not out of compliance, but this just cleans it up. So.
Thank you for the explanation. Any questions from the committee? Senator Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for taking my question. So in the original bill on lines 7 and 8.
I'm just going to grab a copy quickly.
Okay, sure. And you might not even need it. I think my question is easier than that.
I love that.
So it says they haven't been subject to any disciplinary action with any jurisdiction. And we're only talking about disciplinary action that's already in this statute. There's one section called prohibited conduct in the state licensed or certified real estate appraisers.
It's an interesting question. So the thought would be the disciplinary action could be theoretically for any license at all, not related to appraisers.
So my follow-up would be, if this is an apprentice appraiser, they may not have already been subject to this, the jurisdiction of this as appraisers.
Mm-hmm. I think that's possible.
So we should just, if we're going to leave it as is, define disciplinary action as anything, anywhere.
I don't know if I would say that.
Yep. Well, we're not saying anything, so I think
Right.
it's whatever the thought comes into your head of what.
Yeah, right. And as the non-attorney here, I play attorney pretty well on YouTube these days. But I I think within the broader scheme, I don't know if there would be sections in above, that or below within the statute that would flesh that out more fully. I definitely can take that question back if you'd like, or the committee may decide they're comfortable with the policy decision that we don't want any discipline. Like anything, if you get in trouble, period, we don't want you in this federally regulated appraiser profession. So I can get you an answer.
So, may I follow up?
You may,
So
I'm
there
intrigued.
is a prohibited conduct section in the licensed or certified real estate appraisers, and it lists exactly what you would hope it would list: bribery, larceny, extortion, all of those kinds of things. But an apprentice appraiser who is an apprentice may not have been subject to the jurisdiction of this statute over the last 3 years. So possibly could have been involved in that kind of activity, but under under the criminal statute instead. So
I wonder, excuse me, pardon me for interrupting. I wonder if it's possible it could be in another state as well. So perhaps it was happening in another state, you were working at a certain level or even being supervised. There was some discipline in another jurisdiction. So then you come to New Hampshire and just say, I'll just get my apprentice again. So perhaps that's another scenario that could be contemplated here.
okay.
So they have to work under a certified appraiser. My question, I guess, would be, what standard do we hold the certified appraiser to as far as that same look back period, or what are we putting them through to determine that same situation couldn't occur with them?
I don't have the answer to that off the top of my head. I'm happy to get you an answer.
Okay.
I would say I would look at that prohibited conduct as well. And then there are, when somebody applies or reapplies, there are questions that ask about discipline history that would flag out within the system, even for that renewal. So it would be aware. I don't know. And real estate appraisers, because they're federally regulated, is a different animal. Generally in OPLC, if it's a small fine that has been paid, we're not restricting people from working. There has been discipline, but we're not gonna not let them renew because of that. So there's an evaluation of what the scope of that. And so this specific piece for these apprentice appraisers is much more strict than other licenses. I don't know how much more strict it would be than just the regular certified appraisers. I don't have the answer right now. I can get that for you.
Okay. So we're not currently experiencing any situations, say with a certified appraiser of sort of the scenario that Senator Reardon brought up that has created a problem, are we? Are you aware of any situations?
I'm not aware of any of this. This is not responsive to any specific incident.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Anybody else that would like to testify on House Bill 1310? Seeing none, we will close the hearing. And then as soon as we click to 10 o'clock, we're gonna open the next one. Do we have anybody here to introduce the next bill? I don't see anybody. Would either of you like to volunteer to introduce this next one? It's looks like a pretty simple bill moving from July to September.
1379, 1379.
Yeah. You want to introduce? All right, why don't you go ahead? We're going to open the hearing on House Bill 1379, and we will recognize Senator McGue to introduce the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Senator Tim McHugh, District 11. Introducing this on behalf of the Prime House sponsor, who is not in the room at the moment. House Bill 1379, relative to reporting date for annual complaint data. It seems like a small technical correction, simply changing from July to September when the department shall publish an annual report. I'll leave any questions to anyone behind me who may know more about this.
Thank you. I don't see anyone behind you that probably does know any more about this. Anybody that would like to testify on House Bill 1379? We have no one on the sign sheet. Representative McGuire, you didn't want to testify on House Bill 1379, did you? No, I think we're all set. All right, with that, we will close the hearing. Take a motion to go into exec.
So moved. So moved.
You have a second?
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we are in exec session. We might as well take this one right now. This looks House Bill 1379 looks like a pretty straightforward bill.
Sure, I'll move off the pass.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion and a second on pass. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Consent.
Consent has been moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Senator Gannon, you've been quiet over there today. Would you like to take one of these out?
I was more than a excuse. Yeah. Sure.
All right. We heard it, executed already. It was a simple one. We are now in exec session. All right, so let's go back to 1310 since we're right here. That was a great and compelling conversation, actually kind of surprised me. So I do have an amendment brought forward. Is the committee comfortable with, I mean, we sort of have an unanswered question, I guess, and there's no hurry on doing this if you want me to hold it.
So I think what I would be comfortable with, the statute does have that list of offenses. If we just said has not subject to any disciplinary action, cite that section and then leave within any jurisdiction. So then we know where we're talking about. I can just see there being a lot of question about the ability to use information that you had. So
Do
back
we
in.
have the section available, or do
It
you
is
want to draft an amendment?
310B:5-A. You want me to say it again, Ben?
Forward five
So
dash-
RSA 310-B:5-a, and it's called prohibited conduct. And just for the committee, it's convicted in any court of competent jurisdiction of this or any other state, federal court of forgery, embezzlement, obtaining money under false pretenses, bribery, larceny, extortion, conspiracy to defraud, sexual crimes, drug distribution, arson, physical violence, or any similar offense.
Okay, so how do you want to word that? Has not been subject to any disciplinary action within any, under RSA 310B:5-A or within any jurisdiction?
So I think if we say under that gets us back to the place where I was, like, this is an apprentice appraiser. They haven't been subject to this, because they're not an appraiser. This is
Mhm.
prohibited conduct of appraisers. So any disciplinary action of
Under listed in?
listed in, yep, RSA. So then it's not, we didn't use RSA 310B to prosecute them,
Got
but
it.
it's the acts under 310B.
Okay.
Anybody here who cares about that? No.
We'll put it in.
Okay.
So first off, we need to move. Yeah, let me get to that. We got to move the bill. So do we have a motion on House Bill 1310? Senator Reardon, you want to move out to pass?
Yep.
All right, and Senator McHugh seconds. And then we're going to offer a committee amendment. Here's my proposal. We offer a committee amendment that encompasses the amendment that I had, the language I had in 1017.
Yep.
Is that clear, Ben, what we're doing there? And in addition to that, we will add the language that we are discussing here. And Senator Reardon, I'm going to let you run over that again.
Okay. So in the bold where it says, and has not
Line
been.
8 on the original bill, right?
Yep.
Line 7, I'm sorry.
7 and 8, so subject to any disciplinary action, comma, as described in RSA 310 capital B : 5 small a. And then within any
There'd
jurisdiction.
be another comma after that,
Yep,
correct?
yep.
Yep. Ben, do you want to read that back?
And is not subject to any disciplinary action, in RSA 310-B, colon 5-A, comma, within any jurisdiction.
I don't think we need the first comma.
I don't either. I was just going to say that.
Yep,
I-
thanks.
Eliminate the first comma.
The
You
one
need
after
you need the
disciplinary
second.
action.
I believe they will correct you in OLS if we are wrong.
They will.
But I don't believe we need the first comma. All right, so the committee amendment is going to be the language we just discussed, plus the language that I had presented in my amendment in 1017. Is the committee clear on that, what we're doing? All right. Any further discussion before we vote?
Do we move that amendment? And second it? Yeah,
I don't know. I'll move it and you can second. How's that?
got it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the committee amendment? Aye. Any opposed?
Nope.
And then Senator Reardon has moved
Not to
as
pass this amendment.
as amended. Senator McHugh seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move consent?
Any objection? Nope. Seeing none? All in favor of consent? Aye. Senator Reardon, why don't you take this one? Guess we got plenty of time. We might as well stay right on these House bills. Senator McHugh has asked me to hold 1030. He wants to consider an amendment. You can do that. I would rather you didn't, but if you want to, you can. It's your choice.
I'm just curious.
You want to have a discussion?
We might have a sense of the committee. Anybody else have strong feelings on diluting the nursing skills, the nursing skill set? You know, more LPNs, fewer RNs.
Just
Yeah,
for
that's-
reference, we're on House Bill 1030. My apologies if there was confusion there.
I mean, that's my essential concern is just watering down the skill set. And there's a reason that that language exists in many, many states and exists in the curriculum, exists in the testing. And I don't think this is a step forward for patient care. And you could certainly argue that wages will go down. There'll be fewer, more highly skilled folks. So for me, it's a bill that's just not ready for prime time. And we even heard that in some cases, some of the facilities are doing this already, which perhaps they shouldn't be, but if they want to accept the liability, then they can do it under current statute. If we did pass this and we put this expanded scope of assessment that involves comprehensive assessment, that could easily be interpreted to mean either, that's the problem, then you are putting LPNs who are lesser trained, usually at the earlier stages of their career, not always, but usually, you're putting them in a liability situation. And a lot of nurses and even paramedics and others carry personal professional liability insurance because those mistakes and the questions that arise when something goes wrong are usually because of the assessment. So I don't want to put LPNs in the position where they think they've got to go get a couple $100 a year for personal professional liability policy and potentially have no reason to advance to be an RN. So I just don't think the bill's ready for prime time. What does everybody think?
My feeling is we had the top nursing folks in the state in here fully in support of this and didn't seem to share that same concern that you do. But I respect that you have that, and I certainly respect your professional background here. My feeling is if you want to work on an amendment, I will hold the bill. If you don't want to work on an amendment and you strictly want to put it up for an ITL vote, it's not something I'm going to be able to support at this time.
Yeah, we heard from the Carlene, who was, I think, president of the New Hampshire or head of the New Hampshire Nursing Association. Mm-hmm. Even she had concerns that it would, I don't remember her exact words, I'll have to run the tape back, but I noted down that she had some of the same concerns and thought it was a point well made. I'd have to see exactly what her words were.
As I recall, her response was, it was a point well made, but she felt like that they were fully working within their scope of training and what they had been trained to do from her discussions. But Senator Reardon, I'll let you speak.
Thank you. I believe as opposed to diluting the quality of care, I would agree with the nurse that was before us who said that they're not working at the top of their training right now. And I think in facilities that is true, that there's efforts to maximize what people are trained to do and how they use them. I don't know of any LPNs who carry their own insurance. They rely on the insurance of the facility that they're working for. And Ben Bradley was here. I think if he had some concerns about liability, that we may have heard it from them. So I like the bill and I would support the bill. I'm not interested in supporting an ITL motion.
Okay. So I mean, I have amendment in draft that I think is a path
Senator,
forward.
as a courtesy, if you'd like me to hold it to work on your amendment, I will.
Yeah. I'd like you to hold it and work on it.
Okay, let's hold the bill the next week. All right. Did we do, no, we haven't done 1110, right, Ben? All right, let's, House Bill 1110, this was the real estate practice.
Move on to pass.
I'm sorry.
House Bill 1110. Senator Reardon has moved to pass. Do we have a second? Discussion? Looked like a pretty straightforward housekeeping bill to me. And I don't want Jack's older sister mad at him. So,
We have a second, yeah. Okay.
yes, we do.
Okay.
Further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Move consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, all in favor of consent? Aye.
Aye.
Senator Reardon, would you like to take this one? I think the only other House bill we have is 1159, if I,
Yeah.
from this morning, right? Okay. So I will move House Bill 1159 ought to pass,
I'll second it.
and I'm going to offer a committee amendment of changing the effective date to 7/1 of 26, as requested by Mr. Sherman from the Building Code Review Board.
Second it.
Do we have any discussion on the amendment, which would be changing the effective date? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, any discussion on the underlying bill as amended?
I have, if I may.
You may.
I have several people who contacted me who were disappointed that the Energy Conservation Code wasn't in there. I heard the testimony that the board hasn't reviewed it yet, so we'll have another bill next year.
I suspect we will. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Move consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, all in favor of consent? Aye.
Aye.
And I will take this one out then. 7/1 of 26. All right, we're going to move on to, we got a couple bills we have to get out the door today, and one of them is, I see Joy is here, so John, if you want to come up. It is Senate Bill 640. This was the bill that, am I right on that? Yeah. Here's my folder. Apologies, give me 1 second. It's in the one page. Yeah, the AI bill. I have messed up my folders and Trevor, I'm all in order. There we are. Okay. Sorry about that. So, this bill, we have done a tremendous amount of work. As you recall, you may recall from the original hearing that there was a lot of concern raised. And so I assembled, I think I've updated you, I assembled a panel of quite a few folks over, there's 6 or 8 of us that met a couple of times and had extensive discussion on this bill. And in the end, we decided to pare it back a bit and make some changes. So there is an amendment I want to offer. before I move it, I just want to allow John to speak to it, if that's okay, if nobody has any objection. I know we generally move the amendment before we do, but I'd just like John to give us a little background and speak to the amendment that we're going to offer, so please take it away.
Thank you, Senator Pearl. Members of the committee, for the record, John DeJoy, representing the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy and the National Association of Social Workers, the New Hampshire chapter. Through the meetings that Senator Pearl mentioned, the group of folks was unable to reach compromise. And in fact, some days we felt like we were getting further away from compromise than closer. My client, the social workers, were very concerned that we could wind up with nothing this year. And so what they asked me to do is give Senator Pearl an amendment that stripped the original bill to its barest essence. When the social workers began this, the concern was chatbots that were masquerading as therapy chatbots. The bill introduced did many other things modeled on other state legislation. This amendment in front of you takes out most of that from the original bill. What it still does is it deems therapeutic chatbots as unlicensed practice in the state of New Hampshire and beefs up, as a few references in the unlicensed practice statute, so that OPLC and the Attorney General's office can investigate the use of these chatbots. Beyond that, and I'm happy to answer questions that go into more specific, but beyond that, Senator Pearl during the process had suggested a commission to consider the other topics that we couldn't agree to, because there are a number of other important things out there. And the commission is in this amendment as well. The commission is intended, it's a short-run commission, reports due November 1st of this year. It brings together, obviously, legislators as well as the affected parties who are at the meetings with Senator Pearl to continue discussing the things that were discussed in the meetings he held, to see if we can come to some compromise to better protect the public from areas that were in the original bill that we couldn't reach agreement on.
To build a little bit on what John is describing, I had reached out to, excuse me, Director Jurius as well as Department of Justice and asked for some guidance from them on, there's an executive order put out federally that prohibits the states from regulating AI, and we were concerned whether we were going to run up against that if we went the way we were going, and the guidance we received is maybe. That was a little indecisive, a little challenging to understand exactly how that was going to impact some of the areas that we were sort of having difficulty getting consensus on. So I appreciate all of what everyone put into this bill, the time they put in. I suspect there'll be more discussion. If it goes over to the House side, I suspect there's going to be a lot more work that needs to happen. I hope we can at least get the commission going forward, because this is going to, AI is going to impact more than just social workers in practice and the things that we discussed. It's pretty far reaching in many of our areas of licensure, and so it is something we need to look at and contemplate. And if nothing else, this bill brought forward and started the discussion. So John, go ahead.
Can I expound on your last statement? Yeah, the reason we're not concerned about running afoul of the executive order is because this doesn't attempt to regulate AI. This regulates practice. Practice has always been the domain of the states. There are many other AI bills running around this session. Many of them are likely going to run into problems with the executive order. That's why we tailor this the way we did, as opposed to some other ways it could have gone.
Certainly recognize there needs to be further discussion, and that's hopefully what the commission will be able to do.
Yeah.
So, thank you, John. Angela, I don't generally give a lot of opportunity during exec session, but is there anything you want to comment on this? Because I know we've made quite a change and you've been pretty involved. Okay. Yeah, come up if you want to say a few words. I'll give that opportunity, because I certainly appreciate all the work that you put into this as well.
Yeah, thank you. For the record, my name is Angela Boyle from the DuPont Group. We represent the the New Hampshire Psychiatric Society, as well as the Community Behavioral Health Association. So all those mental health providers. So we certainly appreciated the effort that our work group put in. I agree with Senator Pearl and John, definitely a lot of work, more discussion needs to be done. We appreciate the commission. I think that is a great place for us to build a solid piece of legislation moving forward. And we're willing to support that in any way. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so with that, I'm going to move Senate Bill 640. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I'm going to move Amendment 0908S.
Second.
I will open it up for discussion. I understand it's a relatively complex issue, and hopefully the testimony you've received here will help you to have at least a basic understanding of it, and I'm not sure I ever got above that either. I will tell you that I sat in a room full of people who are far more knowledgeable on this than I was, but they were very, very patient with me and thoroughly explained things as we went along. So, any discussion from the committee? Senator Reardon, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I appreciate the efforts that went into getting it this far. And I agree that it might not be perfect. And I agree that it is regulating the industry, not AI. And I think it's a really great framework to work from, that we will have something in law that may need to be perfected over time. But I think this amendment is actually a great job.
Further discussion from the committee? All right, seeing none. So we're voting on the amendment, which is 0908S. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and so I've moved not to pass as amended. Senator Reardon has seconded. Any further discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I will move consent because I don't want to discuss this on the floor. So without objection, seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I will take it up. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
it was a real simple change. Yes. All right, so we have left, Senate Bill 570 does not have an FN. That's the only Senate bill I'm still holding. Excuse me. My understanding is the Ethics Committee is supposed to meet this week, and so I would assume another week we should be able to exec this, but for now I'm going to leave it on hold. And we had one more FN we have to exec today, which is Senate Bill 470. I think. Yes,
Senate Bill 570 is this week to discuss that.
that's my understanding, yes. 470, that's our last one, correct, Ben? Correct. So this is the bill that Senator Rochford brought in. I know there was some concern on how this bill, exactly what it would do. And I know, I see former Senator Susie here, and she is filling in a capacity that she'll have some impact on this bill. Because of the changes that occurred, we have to move this out today, but because of the concerns that were raised, and I spoke with Senator Rochford on this, and so what I've agreed to is just to move this bill forward as it is and ask him to take it to finance, which will give us a couple of more weeks that the stakeholders can have their conversations and decide what we need to do from there. So I'm going to ask the committee just to support this as is, and with the expectation that there is likely to be an amendment in finance that may make some minor changes that will refine the bill down so that there's no unintended consequences. I will open it up for discussion. Well, I haven't made a motion. I guess I'll make a motion about to pass. Seconded by Senator Reardon. Now we'll open it up for discussion. Any discussion? Senator Reardon.
So I did have a couple of notes on,
Yes.
there are things that we need to rewrite on there. We have somebody in finance who's stuck on this, that's gonna.
It's probably going to be me. Yes. I suspected it's going to still stay with me. So I'm certainly open to all of that. And again, I know Senator Susie is, I've spoken with her already on this, and I've spoken with Senator Rochford, and they're both in agreement that this was a reasonable path. And so I will say to the committee, if there's any concerns you have, talk with the two of them or bring them to me and I'll make sure they are included in the conversation. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consent, any objection? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And I will take this one out too. That wraps up all of our Senate FNs. In fact, it wraps up almost all of our Senate bills. The only one we have left is 570, and we've made very good progress on our House bills. We still have House Bill 610. Do we want to have a discussion on this? Does anybody have any thoughts on it? I'm struggling a little bit. That if you recall, this is the consumer advocate, and Don Priest came in and spoke to it. There's some parts of it that I understand. There's a couple parts of it that I'm not quite so sure on. I guess I want to open it up and see if you all have any feelings on it, or if you'd like me to make some suggestions of what I'm thinking. Yes. Yes. I sit on energy as well, as many of you know, and we work with the consumer advocate on a very regular basis. And I understand his concerns, and specifically, and if you have the bill in front of you, line 4, we're trying to change that to be a professional engineer or an economist. While I respect what the House was going for, I'm very concerned that they may create a situation they don't want. I think the fact that it's an attorney currently is very important to what I see the role of the job as they do on a very regular basis in front of the PUC, in front of our Committee on Energy. And it seems that that is a better fit for an attorney than either of these other two professions. Not that they may be very well at doing it as well, but the skills of an attorney certainly come in handy upon the tasks that I see that the advocate does on a regular basis. My suggestions to this would be, I think I would remove the first 3 sections completely. In fact, we could even probably remove section 4 and just leave the Residential Ratepayer Advisory Board. That does provide some oversight. Not that there's ever been a need to have any, but we do know oversight in government, especially on some of these things, is pretty valuable. But we don't have to act on this today if you don't want to. We're not on a deadline on this, right? No, okay. So those would be my suggestions. If you all want to act on this today, we can. If you want to think about it a bit more, I'm okay with that too.
You're suggesting remove
Everything through line 23. And just go with the ratepayer advisory board. That would be my suggestion.
So doesn't some of this need to stay in current statute though?
It still would. We just wouldn't be making the changes.
Oh, fine. From the bill, right?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Not, so you don't mean repeal anything else, right?
No.
Got it, yeah. I'm okay with that. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so I'm going to move on to pass on 610. We have a second?
Second.
And I'm going to move a committee amendment where we remove everything in sections 1, 2, 3, and 4, which effectively, Ben, is the first 23 lines of the bill. So the bill would now start with section 5. All set?
Yeah.
All right. And so the motion is pass on the committee amendment, which removes the first 4 sections of the original bill. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And I'll move on to pass as amended. I don't know, did you second? Senator Reardon seconded. Further discussion on the bill as amended. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any objections? All in favor of consent? Aye.
Aye.
I'll take this one out too. And with that, we are done for what we had on the agenda for today. Again, leaves the only bill that we haven't exec, I think, is the Senate bill, correct, Ben? Okay, and we'll get some clarity on that. I've scheduled 6 bills for next week, so I gave you a little bit lighter week. We are working our way through what I have assigned so far, but I do anticipate there will be more that will come over as we work through the next 2 weeks of House session. Whatever they pass will come to us, so, but we're in very good shape as a committee. I'll take a motion to come out of exec. All in favor? Aye. Any further discussion before we recess for today? And with that, we are done. Thank you.